Welcome back inside Uplift Property Management. I'm Tommy Perfect, CEO and broker here at Uplift, and today we want to do a legal update on California Assembly Bill 12, all about California security deposits. So what AB 12 really is, it's talking about limiting what you can take as a security deposit. And really, if you haven't already started implementing this in your business or in your rental property, you are really behind the eight ball because it went effective July 1st of 2024. What the gist of the bill is it's going to prohibit a landlord from taking more than 1 month's worth of rent as a security deposit. And they actually use the term securities, and that includes all fees or charges outside of the security deposit that are going in advance of the rent, with a couple exceptions that we can talk about, but it also covers furnished and unfurnished units. So here's those exceptions. First off, you have to be a natural person or an LLC where all the owners are natural persons. That means you or me, not a corporation that actually owns a property, right? You also are limited on the unit count. So you can have 2 properties not making up a total of more than 4 rental units. So if you own a duplex and you also own a triplex, that's 5 units, and those are all rented out units, you are not qualifying for that exception. But if you just have a single family home, you own it as a natural person, then you are able to still charge up to twice a month's worth of rent as a security deposit. Now, going into all of those other charges, what they are calling securities, right? This includes any additional deposits. Like if you have an HOA that requires you to have a key deposit or something that you have with them, or pet deposits, which pet deposits are a struggle already because you limit what you are allowed to charge to that deposit. So that's an additional deposit. So all of those kind of things are those additional securities that are going to be calculated in to the 1 month's worth of rent requirement or the 2 months worth of rent requirement if you qualify for that exception. So essentially, if your rent is $2,000 a month, your security deposit can only be $2,000 a month. If you also have a tenant that has a pet and you want to charge a pet deposit, well, really you're still capped at that $2,000. One other exclusion to this is active service members. They are still only capped at that 1 month's rent, even if you are a natural person that qualify for the exception. The active service duty members, still it's 1 month's rent no matter what. Long gone are the days that you were able to collect first month's rent, a security deposit, and last month's rent. This bill actually changes the last month's rent in a legal sense. So really you can only charge first month's rent and that security deposit, which I highly recommend you charge the first month's rent when you charge it. Don't prorate when you start. Charge the full first month's rent and the security deposit. If you do qualify for that exception, you can charge that last month's rent, but you might as well just call it a security deposit and increase that security deposit up to that 2 times amount if you're qualifying for that exception. What the law is actually saying is that when you have that last month's rent, it is included in that term securities, right? So you can't actually charge that because essentially you're gonna have to hold that just as if you're gonna hold a security deposit, but then you limit it to that use for only the rent at the end of the tenancy. There is one exception to the last month's rent because these bills can't be just straightforward, but if you charge 6 months or more of rent, that is your prepayment. So if you have somebody that comes along and they say, hey, I really want to rent it out, I want to pay you 3 months in advance, that's actually technically against the law now. You have to have a minimum of 6 months in advance when you're going to collect that as security for your lease. In conclusion, you've got AB 12 limits you to 1 month's rent. That's really the best practice. You're gonna find that you're gonna be more competitive on the market if you aren't trying to increase that security deposit. When we have this changing market, a cooled off market, rentals are a little bit longer to get rented right now, your renter is going to expect to have the security deposit be 1 month's worth of rent and stopped at that. Again, remember, any additional deposits are included in that calculation for AB 12 and your total amount that you can do. And then you can't charge that last month's rent anymore. So thank you, and if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us here at Uplift. We're always happy to go over these little updates and make sure that everybody can push the industry forward and we can all be good landlords going forward.